Greetings, Earthlings. Welcome to Celestial Compass. I'm Kathy Beal, professional astrologer, proprietress of EmpowermentUnlimited.net, where you can find my weekly, moon, and monthly forecasts, which are also at omtimes.com. And also, I'm also the professional Aquarian on YouTube, where you will find my weekly, monthly, and moon forecasts, and also an increasingly growing library of political videos. So welcome to those of you who have found me through that. We're going to be looking at 2025 in a second, but I want to give you an overview of what remains for us astrologically during December 2024, because a lot is still going on. Mars, the planet that rules our action, the military, our drive, men, is retrograde in the sign of Leo, which has a lot to do with leaders. You might notice in the news many shakeups around Western Europe about who's at the top of each country. Mars retrograde is a time for more inward focus. Mars likes to go forward, but the focus is inside right now. You can look at the period between now and very, very early January as a stretch of self-paced soul retrieval. It does have a lot to do with childhood or self-expression that's kind of unfettered. So think about what you used to do for the holidays and maybe incorporate some of that back into your life now. Mars is going to be retrograde until February 23rd. In early January, it's going to scooch back into the sign of Cancer, not necessarily a comfy place for it, but for right now, it's in the sign of the child and self-expression. Additionally, we have the solstice coming up on December 21st, which is when the sun moves into the sign of Capricorn. It's one of the big four major turns of the astrological wheel. It ushers in winter in the northern hemisphere, southern in the southern hemisphere. And this one has some aspects to it. They're a little bit uncomfortable that say, reality is changing. Maybe it's time for you to update your goals and how you're going to go about some things. And there's also an aspect built into that chart that is going to become exact on Christmas Eve and has the potential for bringing some containment to a lot of the noise, a lot of the chaos, a lot of whatever's been running through your head, helping us choose one storyline, one pathway, one view of reality, and tightening some things down. So there's still quite a bit to do before the end of the year. Oh, one final thing, December 30th, right before New Year's, on New Year's Eve, we have a new moon in Capricorn. There was one in January, so there are two this year in that sign. And the Capricorn new moon is a time for thinking really practically, looking at what you maybe want to create or encourage or further that has to do with goals or stability or some form of commitment or maturity in your life. And there is definitely a vibe of this of, what did I say? The world is changing. It's time to do some things a little differently. So the end of the year, you may be uncommonly contemplative and serious. And honestly, I don't care if it's New Year's, it's a time to put your big kid pants on, suit up, and, the planet of adulting is running the party at that point. But he rewards hard work. He's ultimately your friend. So make peace with him. Okay. So for the rest of the show, we are going to have some fun. I get to talk with one of my favorite people to talk with, Donna Woodwell, also an astrologer. Donna's bio is wonderful. Though she attended grad school to become a foreign correspondent, she had no idea how foreign she'd get. After exploring ancient and modern astrological, magical, and mystical practices for more than 25 years, yes, she and I have both earned our little white streaks, she teaches witches, pagans, and astrologers how to unleash their unique genius into the world. She is the headmistress of a school called magicandmastery.com, and one of my favorite people to play astrology with. Hi, Donna.
Ooh, hello, Kathy. So good to be here.
It's wonderful. Now, you're usually here this time of year. You helped me launch this show. You were on my very first episode, so this is like lucky penny territory. So, and we're going to talk about 2025. Now, every year we go into the year with, well, we've never seen things like this, or this year's going to be so different than last year. What do you say about next year?
Yeah.
Unprecedented.
We don't say that every year. This year we deserve to say that. We deserve to say that this year, because I think what you come into the year with will be not what you leave the year with.
Okay.
Is that one way to think of it?
That's a good way of putting it. Okay. So we're going into it in kind of an environment of mud to some extent. And it's very soon it will gradually shift into something very different, potentially motivating than what we've been experiencing. So talking in broad strokes, you have
sure. I mean,
a way to start.
Astrologically speaking, this is probably the biggest year we've had in a while. Outer planets move very slowly, and we have 3 of them shifting from the mud, the water and earth signs, literally, into fire and air signs. And that's I can't stress that enough. It's like teleporting from a cold winter, muddy northern climb to Hawaii in like a second and going, whoa, what just happened? You know, it's gonna take a while for even our bodies to catch up with this shift that's happening. And it's happening in conjunction with a couple of things that astrologers don't talk about very often, because it's technically not something that you see in a chart. But we are at the high point of the sun's physical cycle. It has an 11-year cycle, so we hit the solar maximum sometime next year. And we are at the high point of the moon's 18-point-something year cycle. And so it is also soaring higher or lower in the sky depending on the time of the month than it usually does. And those 2 things alone create physical responses in our space, from affecting the tides being super high or super low. They affect icebergs falling off and larger ones moving into shipping lanes. All those kinds of things are happening in the midst of this massive shift of energy that is built into the astrological forecast. And as I'm sure as we dig down in, we find that a lot of these moments are hitting up 0 degrees of Aries, which in astrology speak, we call it the world axis, because it's the chart that relates to the whole planet. And as things affect this point, it means it affects everyone. So it's hard to forecast when everything is going to be different, because you got to guess what does different look like. And when we make forecasts, we project from what we've had to what might happen. But if it's really different, if it's truly different, it's hard to even make a guess.
And so to put a little more of a framework on this for people, in late 2024, the outer planets have been having a little dance at the very end of their signs. And then Pluto went first into the new territory. And then next year, they're going to be having a dance at the very beginning of their new signs. And later in the year, a few of them are going to go back into the mud briefly for final cleanup. But there's going to be a stretch of time when all 4 of them are working together in a way that I don't know any astrologer who has been able to pinpoint a time in recorded history when this particular configuration has happened. Would you Has that been your experience also?
Well, I haven't heard any astrology. I mean, you'd have to sit down and go through a calendar, like, for the last few hundred years to pick something, but it's certainly not something that we have seen while we have been doing astrology over the last 30 or 40 years. This is very unusual, and it's happening at a time where, here's the secret of astrologers. They look around at the news and they go, what's on the tipping point? What's on the edge of falling over? And you make some educated guesses because it's those things that are on the edge that are most likely to see the shifts happen. You do that and you look and see at the charts of different places in the world and how they might specifically be affected. So all those things at their tipping points, which people have been saying, yeah, well, they've been saying that for years. No, we ignore that. Those kinds of things are going to come to a head in a way that is very difficult to ignore. And because they're all fire and air signs that are involved, because the whole world is involved, this can pull up major events surrounding global warming, because it's fire and things getting hotter, air, technology, the internet, the algorithm, AI, that kind of things, ideologies. All of these are on the place where we can expect to see very, we're not going to take it anymore, breakthroughs. And what that looks like is going to be difficult to define because we haven't seen anything like this, given the current situation that we're in. So I know historians like to talk about things just happen gradually, but that's not really true. Things happen gradually and gradually and gradually until there's a crack, and then they're not happening gradually anymore. We're coming up from an astrological point of view to one of those crack places. And, they look to astrologers, how can we prepare? And this is one of those times where I think the preparation is what we've been doing for the last years. And it's mostly internal and learning how to accept, here we are, and find a little bit of grounding in yourself as everything changes, and recognize that we can't control all of these changes. So I think it's going to be a very exciting year. It's going to have lots of energy, and we can decide whether we want to, cower in the bed or get up and, see what's happening. I'm guessing most people will be on the getting up and seeing what's happening, because I think it's going to be so captivating,
motivating, energizing.
I think
There's
so.
going to be a vibe of, I see an opening and I'm running for it.
I was talking to somebody. I don't think it was you, but it was very recently, where they were mentioning, it was one of the members of the coven, where they were mentioning the movie Independence Day, where, all of the aliens are coming and invading. And I'm not saying we're due for an alien invasion here, but there is a moment when they're all up on top of the building waving signs because the aliens have come. And again, doesn't necessarily mean that the aliens are going to be coming, but I think it's going to be so change oriented that people will want to stand and go, wow. And maybe we should stand outside with signs. Maybe we should hold them up. I don't know. I think there might be a sense of awe involved with all these changes that are going to come our direction, for what they might, that they might open up new possibilities we haven't considered before. At least I can hope anyway. I am a double Sag. I will be an eternal optimist forever. So you have to forgive me for that.
Just about everything in my chart is going to be hit. So just watch me, folks. I'm ground zero for conflagration. By the way, I was unofficially voted most likely to spontaneously combust in my law school class. And next year may be the year it happens. But to that end, one way that there are a couple of ways that I see we've been prepared for this. And one of them is that the eclipses that we've been going through have been in cardinal signs. They've been in Aries. They've been pushing us toward the North Node in Aries, which translate, that we've been getting this massive shove in the back to be self-actualizing, to be self-motivating, self-starting, to live your own life and just let your relationships sort themselves out. Don't sit in advance and try to figure out, play mind games and try to position everything based on what you think somebody else wants. Just go live your life. And so we're going into that with that kind of vibe. And I think that's been really good boot camp in a way for some of this.
I totally agree. And I think it's great that the astrological plan, prepares us for what's coming by the nature of what the plan is. It's designed in a way where one thing develops into the thing you're going to need next. And so Saturn has been swimming through Pisces for the last 3 years. And Saturn, I can't say Saturn loves Pisces. Saturn wants to be grounded, and it wants to have like practical solutions, and it wants to go one step at a time. And Pisces is like the freaking ocean. So it's been just keep swimming as it goes through Pisces, because it has zero choice. It can't hold on to things because it's the ocean. There's nothing to hold on to. But that learning how to find your grounding and your centering within yourself is going to be super useful as we move into the I need to do my thing. There's been like a really deep preparation for being self-actualizing in a way that a lot of people are going to see come to fruition as that Saturn and Neptune hold hands and move across the world axis together. And I'm not sure that's ever happened before, at least not in a very, very long time.
I know someone who claims to have gone back 8,000 years and not found. Now, how you do that, I don't know. But I do know someone who claims
astrological software.
I don't know how to wrangle mine to do that, but at any rate, I
guess how you do it.
Yeah. Anyway. But the other thing I think is, especially since the days of being locked in our houses and the shift in how we socialized, I have observed a lot of people having many opportunities to rethink priorities and to shift around what's most important to them and to drop some things that they used to do and focus on a few things that are really, really meaningful, which is kind of what the Capricorn new moon at the end of this month is going to encourage people to do. So what a nice send off. So that's going to be useful if you suddenly have the energy of the impulse of a starting gun going off and you're just going to run some way. All the better if you already have a lightened energetic pack and you have a better idea of where it is you want to go.
If people have been doing all of their inner work that we've suggested doing over the past 5-6 years over and over again, going, there's nothing else you can do with this. If you lighten the load, you're going to have primed yourself on all levels to go. And if you feel like you haven't done that, circumstances may shove you and you will be stumbling and your stuff will be falling out of your luggage, but you're going anyway. So it's just a matter of how graceful you are in the movement. And honestly, there have been times in my life when I've gone back and I go, yeah, I guess I could have prepared for that better. But sometimes it's fine to just get shoved out and have to start over again, because we get too attached to our ways of doing things, and that reduces our possibilities just by our own habits that we've gotten ourselves locked into. And this is a great year for blasting through and just, reinventing yourself.
That's a good way of putting it. Reinventing yourself. Yep. And there's also the possibility here of just not caring what anybody else thinks and having if not now, when is a one way of thinking of it. And not having any F's left, and just, why not? If I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it now. And people being much more daring and bold and testing out stuff because they finally sense a maneuverability. Like, oh, there's an open. I said it again. There's an opening. I'm going to run for it.
I think that is an excellent way to put it. Should we give people some dates while they are here?
I think maybe we should. A little
Okay, some dates, they can put them on their calendar.
What do you want to start with?
Let's start with like the big planets moving.
Okay.
So they get a sense of what we're talking about. So I've got those written down, so I'll do those. And then you can do what, the eclipses? Did you look at the eclipses?
I looked some, but I also have retrogrades. So go ahead.
Okay, we'll do those too. So on March 30th, Neptune will be moving into the sign of Aries. So it goes first across the world axis, and it will be there until October 22nd. So our taste is 7 months long. On May 24th, Saturn will be following Neptune into Aries until September 1st. So it will be there for 3 months. Jupiter will be moving into Cancer, and we shouldn't forget that one, on the 6th on the 9th of June, because Jupiter loves being in Cancer. And then finally on the 7th of July, Uranus will be moving into Gemini until November for a little 4-month stay. And then Neptune, Saturn, and Uranus will all return to these places in 2026. So there is a spate in here from March, April, May, when like June, July, where there's just thump, 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 one planet after another shifting position. So yeah, January might get off to a little slow start this year, but be grateful, because once you get to like those eclipses in March, we're going.
And it might be helpful to know that some of us, anybody who's listening to this has lived through Jupiter in Cancer, because Jupiter has a 12-year cycle. So you can go back 12 years and think, oh, okay, that's what got activated for me. Saturn, 28 and a half to 30 or some. So Saturn is it's traveling through territory that it was in the late 1990s. So if you're an adult, you have lived through that before, but not Neptune and Aries, and not Uranus and Gemini, and not all this at once. So that's
big stuff happening. And we talked about Saturn and Neptune moving into Aries. Saturn's the pulling us down principle that wants us to be pragmatic and manifest things. But Neptune's almost the opposite. It's I want to dissolve into all oneness. I want to be connected to all things. And I do not want something as pesky and heavy as boundaries and grounding. So these two odd couple planets are moving together over the world axis. That is like an incredible stretch. But Uranus moving into Gemini, oh my goodness. Uranus is I will chew my own arm off to be free to be myself. And
that is a great description.
At least that's how I felt every time Uranus has done something to one of my planets. And Gemini is all about pure perception. It wants to perceive and try everything in its arena. And so the two of these are going to be positively electric. Everything is going to speed up, especially if it involves technology and communication, so much faster than we ever imagined. If you thought the last 7-8 years technology has been going fast, you've seen nothing. The exponential growth is going to just hit one of those points, those inflection points where things really start to change in ways that are difficult to ignore. And then Jupiter is moving into Cancer. Jupiter's been in Gemini for the last year, kind of paving the way for Uranus's 7-year visit to the sign, which has made us a little hopeful, maybe a little Pollyanna. But when Jupiter is in Cancer, it's exalted. And so Jupiter's tendency to want to expand and uplift is being encouraged in a way that it wasn't quite encouraged when it was in Gemini. And so we're going to see these tendencies to want to go faster and bigger and find more meaning and purpose just intensify at the same time all this other stuff is happening. So again, what this is going to mean to people are going to, they're going to be people who just like drop everything and walk away and go do something totally different. And they're going to walk away from relationships. They're going to walk away from jobs. They're going to walk away from the places that they've lived, because it's going to feel like they need something new, or something around them is going to change so much that they don't have a choice. Like there's just, it's a necessity to go and do something totally different.
And speaking of necessity, this is a point for us to take our break. So hang on, everybody. We got lots of exciting stuff to tell you. Stick around. Welcome back to Celestial Compass. I'm talking with Donna Woodwell today about what we think might be coming next year. And just before the break, Donna detailed the times that the outer planets are making their sign changes next year. And I would just like to point out that as soon as Uranus, which is associated with technology and radical change, moves into Gemini, communication sign, it's going to be in cahoots with Pluto, agent of evolutionary level change, in Uranus's modern home, and its home of Aquarius. And when Donna and I were kicking this around, some time ago, I said, we're going to get a new internet. And you went, what could be a new internet? Well, who knows? But there will be some massive change in how we actually communicate online. And right when Pluto made its final entry, it's been darting in and out of Aquarius since March of 2020. Last year, sorry, get the words. They're coming. Words. No, 2023. As soon as it moved for the next almost 20 years into Aquarius, there was this incredible exodus of people leaving one social media messaging platform for Blue Sky, which is a very interesting name, given what this is all going on about. So just know that all these guys are going to be working with each other. Saturn and Neptune are going to be in a motivating, energizing relationship with Jupiter, kind of like shoving, let's make this big, or Jupiter will be making them really big. And Saturn and Neptune are going to be in a, more and more air coming out of the fire relationship with Pluto. And then Uranus is going to get into the mix. That's why I keep saying conflagration, human fireballs. I don't know. I don't see it being possible to be a couch potato next year.
Right. 7 years is a really long time in this day and age, and yet it's not. I remember when Uranus was moving into Taurus, we were talking about, it was all going to be all about the batteries, because Uranus is like electrical, and Taurus is like the ground. And so it was literally putting lightning in I would say in a bottle, but lightning in a piece of metal, which is kind of the equivalent of battery technology if you involve the chemicals and the other stuff that's in there, which we have seen changing things like the availability of electric vehicles and solar panels. All these things have come down dramatically in price thanks to Uranus moving through Taurus. And so the things that are related to Gemini are more airy stuff, more ephemeral stuff, and also things that have a bit of duality to them. And so we are going to see the movement, the explosion of things like holograms. They're going to be much more prevalent 7 years from now. They're going to be in places we wouldn't have expected them to be faster. Like something will happen and that will shift. I'll go on the record for this.
Yeah, I'm going to keep you to that one.
Yeah, I we will see them. Now, I'm not saying that we're going to have holodecks like in Star Trek, but seeing television shows use like a holopresence for their presenters from some other part, and just like the pandemic, they sent people kits to be able to broadcast from their homes. They're going to be able to send people kits to do 3-dimensional holograms from your own house into some other place. So it's coming. The basics are already there. They just need to increase, the computer power to make it happen fast enough. And it's coming so fast. So that's going to be around. Virtual realities where you are like in one place and you are walking in another place. That's again, that's one of those paradoxical places. You put those things together with the increase in computer AI technology and those kinds of things. I'm currently staying with my parents until I figure out where I'm going to live in the next part of my life. And I've been helping them with their technology all the way. And it's already really hard to do some things if you don't have a cell phone. It's just practically difficult. And getting them, I pulled their cable out. I'm like, no more cable for you. You must learn how to stream. And they've 6 months in, they have gotten to the point. I'm like, oh, that's what binge watching is. You can just watch the whole thing and you don't have to wait until next week. This isn't so bad. And I'm like, okay, we're getting there. But I can't imagine what this adjustment is going to be when we are actually dealing with needing to work into alternate spaces, virtual reality spaces, when people aren't exposed to that all, they're having baby steps all along the way, and it becomes a part of people's lives. So welcome to the brave new world, because we are racing into it. And
we'll probably hit a point where we can control technology by thought.
We are not that far away from that either. Experiments are being done. This is no longer somebody's, hey, let's just spit things at the wall and see what sticks. You can go and get on the internet and dig up someone doing studies in these areas. Again, welcome to the brave new world. We are going. I'm sure they will have us replaced and have digital avatars doing these kind of presentations in the not too far distant. Well, at least before, I stopped doing it anyway.
They won't have the senses of humor and personability that you and
I don't know about that. I don't know about that. It's going to be amazing what we can do. And someone will have to program them. But if they have your whole, think of that movie that just came out with Tom Hanks. You do what's it called? Here?
I don't know.
Okay. Tom Hanks and worked with Robert Zemeckis to create a movie that is shot in one room. And the only thing that changes is the time frame for the room. And so they go all the way back to thousands of years in prehistory, running up through the ages and into this family and multiple generations of family in this one house, in this one room. And because there's so much footage of Tom Hanks, he's been on television since he was a little kid. They use the computers to de-age him so that he is the age appropriate whatever to play the 17-year-old version of him and the 20-year-old version and the 30-year-old version and the 40-year-old version, all the way up to the 90-year-old version, which hasn't even happened yet. So we are here. We are here.
Well, okay. So shifting gears just a tiny bit, can we talk a little about the lead in to all of this activity? And I mean, specifically starting the year off with a Mars retrograde, and then very soon after Mars goes direct, his lady love Venus goes retrograde. So what do you make of Mars is retrograde until, for those of you who like dates, it's retrograde. It will be in Cancer next year until February 23rd. And Venus is retrograde from March 1st to April 12th. And it is going from 10 degrees Aries, we've said Aries several times so far, back into Pisces. We've said Pisces. So it's going to go from the territory that Saturn and Neptune are moving into and revisit the territory that Saturn and Neptune are moving out of. It's going to go back to 24 Pisces. What do you think about this 1-2 of 2 cardinal sign retrogrades of
two fire sign retrogrades? We had it started in Leo for Mars retrograde, and then the Venus retrograde started in fire, and all the Mercury retrogrades start in fire. So all the retrogrades next year are in fire signs. Like, we needed more things on fire. And I think that I think practically speaking, the 3 planets that we notice the retrogrades most are Mercury, Venus, and Mars, because they're in our faces, but especially Venus and Mars. And because of that, the year is going to start out a little more awkward, a little slower, a little more internal than we might expect under normal circumstances. For the last few years, we've had these really long no retrograde periods, 70 days, 75 days, 80 days, where there's nothing retrograde. And we're just like, woohoo, let's go do this. And this year, we have a few weeks, few days. That's it. There's always something retrograde. And I think, honestly, I think we may be grateful that they're like training wheels on all of this crazy that is coming, that makes us slow down and be present. You know, sometimes when we get so overwhelmed by life, we end up getting sick, because sick is the only way our bodies know to, like, say, stop it, just stop it, go to bed, be there, don't run around anymore. And we have no choice. And not that I'm saying retrograde is like being sick, but there's so much movement next year. Having a little bit of pullback and review how you're spending your energy. That's a Mars retrograde. Review how you are spending your relationship energy. That's a Venus retrograde. Review what you value. That's a Venus retrograde. At the beginning of the year, it's going to serve you well as we go into full steam ahead in a totally new way, because you at least, you know, if the fire is coming to your house and you need to know what one thing you are going to pick up as you run out, you at least have a chance to reflect on what that one thing might be before the fire comes. Again, not everybody's house is going to be on fire, but you know, it's a metaphor. You get what I mean.
There've been wildfires near me. This is hitting. So everyone just know that we've had some build up in the last couple of years. That's prep work. And then we'll have some slow on-ramp activity until everything launches, and eclipse season launches it. Eclipses start in March, and we're finishing up the ones that have to do with how we get along with each other in Aries and Libra, and we're moving forward in the eclipse family that I have various ways I'm describing this, involve the signs of Virgo and Pisces, which have to do with boundaries and complete interconnectedness, service and martyrdom, being very earthly and earthy and detail oriented, and giving yourself over to faith or creativity or chocolate or bottles of wine, or worse. What do you see? Oh, and one other thing is, okay, so we're wrapping up eclipses that involve energy that we're moving into, and we are going back over and revisiting territory that we've been in with the second eclipse family. Is that too esoteric?
Well, eclipses are tied up. I mean, they go in cycles that last an extremely long period of time. Eclipses themselves are like, you know, over 2,000-year cycles as they grow, as they start out small and grow and then diminish again. And so they have to do with long evolutionary changes, and they work backwards compared to all of the planets moving through the zodiac signs. So planets as they move forward through zodiac signs go Aries, Taurus, Gemini, and so on the list. Eclipses go the opposite direction. So we've had them in Aries, and now they're moving backwards into Pisces. And so while Saturn and Neptune are going one direction, the eclipses are going over the same point the other direction. And so it's like a convergence. And when you see waves that come together on the ocean and they converge, they make a much higher wave of it's called constructive interference. And that's what the eclipses are doing in the midst of all of this, which is yay. So I think we're going to see, a lot of times when things change, you expect people to like totally freak out. I think there are going to be a lot of people that are not freaking out because of these changes this time around. I think there's going to be so much, yes, we're ready, we're done with all of this, and just going and being more than willing to let go, because there's been so much buildup on an internal level, because the outer planets have been slowly having a conversation with each other for the last few years, making these friendly little sextiles in the basement, helping people get sorted out. And I think people are going to surprise themselves with how ready they are to do something different. I think a lot of people may be coming to the realization of, you know what? I haven't really been that happy. Maybe something else would be better, and going and doing something different. And I think there's so many people that are just done with the fear. And even though things are changing, they may not like the direction that the political system is going or something else is going in their life, they're not so afraid to move forward as they have been in the past.
I keep hearing a TV commercial slogan that caused me to take stupid daring action when I was a small child. Run faster, jump higher. I tried to jump off a park bench and fly. It didn't work.
Move fast and break things.
That's what I did. I broke things, specifically my elbow.
There is an element of move fast and break things in this. But you can't build something new until the old is broken. And we may not like the breaking part, but we need the space to build something new. And the question is, what are we going to build? And that's where making sure you are engaged and putting your energy into the mix, or you're going to get something else that people build for you and you're not going to be as happy. And there's so much energy to encourage people to go become involved. Mm-hmm. I think anybody who wants to create a movement is going to be really pleased with the results, because I think a lot of people are willing to step up and say, I want to be part of whatever this is going to be. And the only thing that's stopping them is not knowing how to engage. And so those people who are helping people find avenues to engage are going to be the most successful as we go forward.
This is really a time to go for broke. Just go for it. Whatever it is for you. Why wait? Give it a try. And
yeah, you only live once, right? This time around.
Now, we're going to have quite a longer discussion about this.
We are.
Aren't we?
We are. I love starting the year out with you when we do our storytelling workshop. So we came up with a plan a few years ago on helping people write their own story. And the premise is we give you a framework of all the aspects that are going to be happening during the year, and kind of a Mad Libs approach to helping you figure out where these different energies are going to be affecting you personally. So it depends on, everyone has their own chart. We're all tuned a little bit differently. And so a planet that might, make me want to, go out and be creative might make someone else want to change their relationships or something else like that. And so we help you work through all of this for yourself as the year is beginning. And so it's that time of year to do our storytelling session again. And I think this is the best year ever for it. What do you think?
Well, I want to tell everybody, since Donna's a Virgo, you get a workbook. And since I come from a foreign language background, there's a lot of translation for you. So if you're someone who goes, oh, I don't understand what these things mean, don't worry. We give it to you where it meets you wherever you are in terms of your astrological technical understanding. And
Oh,
also,
no astrology required for this.
yeah, none. And also, we're just fun. So you're going to have fun, and you'll have guideposts and a general map, and these things that we've been saying, you'll see, oh, this is what it means for me. This is what it's activating, or where it's activating in my life. And I can see timelines, times on the calendar to kind of watch. So what happens is we have
a 2-hour session on Wednesday, January 8th. If you really want to know, it's at 3 p.m. Eastern time is when we start. And we will go through a basic overview of the year, as well as how to use the workbook. But actually, this is part of a bigger process. If you want to sign up today, it is already available. You just go to www.magicandmastery.com/my2025 story, and you will find the page. Sign up. When you sign up, you will get a helpful guidepost for my year in review, so that you can take your whole 2024 year and do all the cogitating and journaling. It has hundreds of questions to help you analyze different parts of your life and what you've already been through. So you start with that. And then you can use that over the holidays. And when we get closer to January, we will be sending you other stuff to work with, like our cheat forecasts and our Mad Libs workbook, so that you can look at them in advance. So because Virgo me is all about giving you homework to look at. If you want to, because I know there are other people who are like me who want to have their paper in advance. And then we will go through how to use the different sections and give you plenty of time. And then we always follow it up with a Q&A like a week or so later, just to answer all of your questions once you've had a chance to digest all of that information. And we just have people who love it. I have collections of thank you letters every year for giving people an overview and a heads up of what's coming, and the tools to make the best use of it. And that's just the beginning. I have plans. Kathy and I have plans to go through the whole year with some fun stuff. So I'm excited. I'm really, really, really excited about what next year can bring.
And this personalizes it. Okay. There are places you can get all kinds of info about what's coming next year. And I wouldn't want to dissuade you from consuming as much content as you feel drawn to. We will personalize it for you. So it makes sense. It's not some computer program saying this means this is happening in the house. We help you digest it, have some fun, make some jokes, see things, and then chart your own path for how this is going to go. My tagline is astrology you can use. I'm not a Virgo.
There you go.
I have a lot of planets in the Virgo house. There we go. So,
I'm good with that. No, we do it. We do this because we love it, and we love helping you. And this is the best way that we have found to be able to help you, because I have a journalism background. Kathy has an artistic and acting background, and we know that telling stories is what creates our reality. And if you can tell your own story, you are writing your own new path. And we need a lot of storytellers right now, because when faced with something new, how do you begin to come up with new potentials for yourself if you can't imagine something that's new and possible. And this is going to give you those, at least point you in the right direction for being able to do that work for yourself.
I'm excited. So I hope you guys will join us. Before we ring off here, Donna, what else is going on with you? What do people find if they go to your site? What happens with your school and your coven?
We are always doing things. I just had my 5th anniversary for the school this fall, and I'm poised for a major expansion into next year. I've actually been slowly drafting like all 6 of my books simultaneously. So I have first backs of books that'll be finished by the time Uranus goes into Gemini. Lucky me. So you can find me at magicandmastery.com. We have everything from 8 13-week courses that you can take wherever you are, whether you want to study divination or how to cast spells or do astrology or read your tarot. These are all available right now. We have a vibrant community. We have our own private community space. Our community does fun things like movie night once a month and divination potluck once a month and all kinds of other fantastic ways to get to know other fun, magical people who are studying together. I think I have the best job in the world. And of course, I get to hang out with people like Kathy when we do our special events. So, and we will have many more special events coming into next year. It's not like we don't have many already, but I'm just tickled pink with where things are going to end up.
I float in and out often on the movie nights. So they're fun. They're great. Well, hey, thanks a bunch.
Well, thank you for having me.
And chatting about next year and brainstorming and whatever. So everybody, do remember, go to magicandmastery.com/
my 2025 story.
Very easy to recommend. I'm also going to put a link when this video goes up on my YouTube channel. I'll put the link there. I will try to find every place that it streamed live and stick the link in the comments there as well. And remember that my forecasts are at empowermentunlimited.net. Also my YouTube channel, Professional Aquarian, and except for the weeklies, they're at omtimes.com, which has very graciously published my work for longer than I can remember at this point. So happy solstice, everyone. Happy holidays. I hope people are actually going out and doing things that bring sparkle and joy into their lives. Are you doing that, Donna?
I just had this vision that I needed to have like glitter that I could have thrown up in the air for this moment in time.
We're going to do it now. Energetically. Bye, everybody. Glitter.